Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and we are a couple weeks away from the NFL draft. So I am going to do my first version of my mock. Now, this is one thing, and I will tell you guys now, I am not a draft expert, so don't expect me to be the whole expertise around it. This is something that I just love to do for fun, maybe kind of see where things are going to go in this draft. And then also, as a reminder, I will be live streaming the entire first round of the NFL draft. That's Thursday, April 23rd. 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on this channel. I will be live streaming the entire first round of this NFL draft, so make sure you guys tune in for that. I'll have more stuff as time goes on, but it's time to give my thoughts and time to play around with this and have a mock draft. Make sure you guys leave a video a like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and let's get right into it. Today's video was being brought to you by SeatGeek. Yes, football season is over, but you still have the NBA season, you still have baseball right around the corner, concerts, comedy shows. SeatGeek is your place to get your tickets. Now, let's just say I want to go to an upcoming Chicago Bulls game, me being from Chicago, and I'm going to go to that Bulls game. I'm going to select 2 tickets, and the green means good seats and good deals. The red means bad deals, and the tickets are graded on a scale of 1 through 10. And if you want to get your tickets to go to anything today, and make sure you click the link in the description and use code APW Sports for 10% at checkout. Once again, click the link in the description to save yourself 10% at checkout with SeatGeek. Now, let's get back to the video. All right, so how we're gonna do this, we're gonna have a couple of players lists. I did the ESPN and my Bears mock draft. Make sure you guys go stay tuned into that. And we're gonna do the ESPN in this draft, but this time I'm going to pick every single team versus just the Bears. And let's dive right into this, as we all know where the first pick is gonna go. That is going to be Fernando Mendoza from the Raiders to the Raiders from Indiana. So pick number 2, I think things start to open up, and we're talking about a Jets team that needs a lot. They can use quarterback, which I don't think they're gonna take this high. Wide receiver, they're not gonna take this high. I think they go a guy like an Arvell Reese from the Ohio State University. I think the way he is versatile can fit into this Aaron Glenn defense. And we know that we're talking about a Jets team that needs a lot, but I really feel that Arvell Reese is the pick here. Now we go to the Arizona Cardinals. This team could use a lot, whether it's linebacker, whether it's edge, running back. They could use a quarterback at some point. I don't think they take a quarterback this high, but I think they get some edge rush help. And to me, it's a couple of names that stand out here. We're talking about a Ruben Bain, whether we're talking about a David Bailey from Texas Tech. I think this is a part where they're gonna go Ruben Bain from Miami. Now, the Titans, this is a team I think they spent a lot of money on defense. They spent a ton of money on defense this past offseason, and I think they can use some wide receiver help. I think they can use some linebacker help, and I think they go with the linebacker here, and I think with the defense that Robert Saleh goes, I think Sonny Styles will fit absolutely perfect in his defense. How physical Sonny Styles is, his quickness at their linebacker position. Remember, he was a former safety, and I'm not just being biased because he's a Buckeye, but he fits so much of what Robert Saleh likes to do on defense. Sonny Styles is the guy. Now we're talking about the New York Giants. They can use a few things. They can use a corner. They can use linebacker help. They can use a wide receiver. I don't think they go Jeremiah Love. I think he slips. I think this is where you possibly see Caleb Downs get drafted to the New York Giants, because this is a team that needs, I think, can use some deep backfield help on their defensive side of the ball. I think offensively, yeah, you can see them possibly going for a receiver, maybe a Carnell Tate, maybe a Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson, but I think they go for the safety help here to help the back end of the defense, and they take Caleb Downs. The Browns, they have a lot of issues. When I mean a lot, I don't think a guard goes this high. I think me personally, I think they addressed this offensive line, which lost a ton. And I think this is a wide receiver position you can go to as well, as we're talking about a guy like a Carnell Tate, like I said, Lemon. This team could use a lot. It could use some wide receiver help for definitely, and I think that's where they go. Carnell Tate, I know it's 4 Ohio State guys in the top 10, but I really feel that is where they're gonna go. Next is the Washington Commanders. With this football team, I think I like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I like the things he did within that offense. They can use some edge rush help, get after the quarterback. I think this is where possibly a David Bailey gets taken off the board to them. Now we have the New Orleans Saints. This is a little bit tricky because they can use some wide receiver help outside of Chris Olave. They can use some help at the tight end. They could continue to build weapons around Tyler Shutt, excuse me. And I think they go, this is the running back. Jeremiah Love goes to the New Orleans Saints. We got Alvin Kamara starting to get above 30, and they can use some more playmaking, and they can use some more running back help, as I think a young quarterback's best friend is always a good running game. So this is a point where we're going to see Jeremiah Love. Next is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a couple spots where I think they can go on their defensive side of the ball with all that they lost. Could they draft the corner high? I could see that, but I don't think they do it this high in the draft. Could they go edge rush help? Possibly. Could they go linebacker help? Possibly. I think this is a position with the running backs and the things that they can use on offense as well as the offensive line. I think this point in a position where they take Kenyon Sadiq to kind of be that heir apparent tight end to Travis Kelce. They did sign him to a 3-year deal, but I don't feel it's any way, and I mean any way, Travis Kelce plays those 3 years. I don't see a scenario where that happens. Next is the Cincinnati Bengals. They can use a lot, and it's all defense. They can use, whether we're talking about corner, whether we're talking about safety, whether we're talking about linebacker, whether we're talking about edge rush. They can use a ton on this defensive side of the ball. I don't think this is a point where a tackle goes high, or as the edge rusher goes this high. Maybe they take a reach on somebody. I think they go cornerback help, and they give Mansour Delane, these Cincinnati Bengals, to help with their cornerbacks, especially with that division when you got to cover DK, where you got to cover Michael Pittman Jr. Then on top of that, we're talking about the division where you got to deal with Lamar and his receiving core. So you got to get some cornerback help, and I think, especially in AFC period, if you want to be contending, you got to get some corner help, and I think that's what they're going to do. The Dolphins can use a lot. Wide receiver help, I think they can go there. Cornerback help, they can go there, but I think they go wide receiver, and they take Mekhi Lemon from USC to really help with that wide receiver room for a guy like a Malik Willis. I think they give him a more of an opportunity to see what you have. You release Tyreek Hill, you trade Jalen Waddle, and I think you go wide receiver here now. The Rams are an interesting state. The Rams are interesting. Well, I'm sorry, the Cowboys, excuse me, are interesting because they could use a lot of spots here. They can go somewhere left tackle. I don't think they go tackle, not left tackle. They can go tackle. I don't think they go there. They can use some edge. I think there might be a spot. They can use safety. They can use corner. I think this is a position where they may go reach, but I've heard his name go up a lot, and I think they take Akeem Mesidor to help with their pass rush. I know he's a little older, but I think the Cowboys are a franchise that's going to have to get through after the quarterback. Their defense is still not fixed yet. Still not fixed. So I think they go there. Now we're talking about the Rams. The Rams are a spot that they can take best player available. Honestly, they are at a spot where they can take best player available. Now, I think they probably might go more towards on their defensive side of the ball. That's just being me. They did address the corner with both Jaden Watson and Trent McDuffie. They don't go there. Could they go linebacker? I don't think a linebacker in this point may be high enough to take, but I think you can help boost your offensive line, and in tackle position, you take Monroe Freeland from Georgia. Now we have next on the board is the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens, I think, yes, you can take your defensive tackle here, but I think it's a little bit too high at this point. You could take a guard here to help with the interior of your offensive line. You could take a center, but there's no centers I don't think is rated as high. You could take another wide receiver to help with the receiving core, but I think they go in the interior of their offensive line, and they get Oyane from Penn State. Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a team that can use a lot of help on that defensive side of the ball, and I think that's exactly where they're going to go. And I think they take the next best pass rusher available, and that will be TJ Parker, edge rusher from Clemson, because the Buccaneers were one of the bottom-ranked teams when we're coming to talking about sacks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were one of the bottom-ranked teams as we now get to the Jets, their second first-round pick, and I personally think this is going to sound crazy. Actually, it's not going to sound crazy. I think if you're going to get a quarterback, you don't take them in the second round because of the fact of you have that extra leverage with the fifth-year option if you want to truly develop a quarterback. And this is the junior Jets team that I think really, truly needs to develop a quarterback instead of getting a patchwork by committee. Then on top of that, yes, you did trade for Geno Smith, and Geno Smith plays somewhat halfway decent. You don't have to start Ty Simpson right away, and that's exactly where I'm going to go. Jets pick Ty Simpson. Like I said, you get that fifth-year option on a quarterback if you think if he really pans out to what you want him to be. He doesn't have to play right away with Geno Smith, and he's in a situation where he's not rushed to win right away because the Jets are a long way from doing that. So I think this could be a perfect situation, even though the Jets have a history of, let's say, ruining quarterbacks. But I think that's the route they're gonna go. Now, the Lions, on the other hand, I think you can use some running back help, but you get that later. I think you need to improve your offensive line now that you release Taylor Decker, Glasgow's gone. So you get Francis Mayoga from University of Miami, and I think you can boost your offensive line, maybe probably slide him into that left tackle position when you have Penei Sewell right at the right tackle position. So I think that works out perfectly. Now, this Minnesota Vikings team can use some cornerback help. They can use some defensive tackle help now that they released a guy like Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. So a lot of ways that this team can go. I don't see them going offense right now, even though they did sign a couple quarterbacks. I think they get themselves the cornerback, and that will be Jeremiah McCoy from Tennessee. Next, we're going to go the Carolina Panthers route. Xavier Legette has not worked out. They can use some help there. Tackle, they can use some help there to kind of boost that offensive line and protect Bryce Young, who I think is starting to get better. They can use some help on the defensive front. This is where I have Spicifano from Carolina and from Utah going. Boost your offensive line, get a tackle, and help boost your run game. I think that's where they're going to go. Now we're going to go with the Dallas Cowboys, who have their second pick, and with their first pick, they elected Mesidor from Miami, and I still think this is a team that has to go defense. This is a team that has to go defense. I really believe so. And I think you get a guy like a Thuney out of Oregon to help with your safety spots. You really need to boost his defense from all standpoints. So I think this is where you get Thuney from Oregon. Now, next up on this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a couple of ways to go. They can get a safety, they can get a guard. I don't think they get quarterback now. I don't think they get wide receiver with trading for Michael Pittman Jr. I don't think they go there. I don't think they go on the defensive front. I think they go more on the back end of their defense, help with that safety spot that's getting a little older. And I think they take a Manuel McNeil Warren from Toledo to help with their safety spot. So I think this is where they're going to go. Now, the Chargers, they can use big help on that offensive line. They can use big help at edge. They can use big help at that defensive tackle spot because I think they need some more interior presence. And this is where I think they try Peter Woods from Clemson to help with the interior of your front, get your run stout, get your run a little better, get some pressure from the inside. And Peter Woods, I think, will provide that for them. Next, the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is where I think the next wide receiver is off. And this is where I think Jordan Tyson goes off the board. Now, I personally believe this is going to be a wide receiver because I think A.J. Brown is probably going to be gone by that June 1st. And seeming as the draft is before that, I think they addressed that wide receiver position now to help get more, to keep the weapon stabilized around Jalen Hurts. I just don't see a scenario where A.J. Brown starts the season as a Philadelphia Eagle. I don't see that. And that's why I think they draft a wide receiver at that point. Next is going to be the Cleveland Browns with their second pick of this first round. The first pick they took Carnell Tate. I think in their second pick, they continue to focus on their offensive line and they draft Ahinachor from Arizona State. I think they boost their offensive line, continue to get some things around a guy like a Shedeur Sanders, who I think presumably should be the guy that starts. You get him Carnell Tate, you get him in Chor. This is where I think they have to continue to boost their offense. Next is my Chicago Bears. Defense. Maybe you can use a wide receiver, but it's too early for them to take one here, especially with the weapons that they do have. You have to address defense, and you have to address the interior. And no, I'm not being biased. Bears draft Caden McDonald. Grady Jarrett's getting older. I love Javon Dexter in the way he's starting to develop more and more as a football player, but I've watched Caden McDonald at Ohio State. He can plug up in the interior of a defense. He's big, he's strong, and for his size, he can really move laterally, and I believe that Caden McDonald will be a perfect fit within this Bears defense. Yes, they still need edge rush help. Maybe they can get that just from getting Dio Adangbo back, maybe. Who knows? And Austin Booker to continue to develop. But I think with Grady Jarrett starting to get older in the tooth, you got to have to address that defensive tackle spot with Andrew Billy's leaving, and Caden McDonald, that I think is the answer. And next, we get the Buffalo Bills. They did trade for DJ Moore. Speaking of the Bears pills, they traded for DJ Moore. I still personally think they can use some wide receiver help, and I think that's where they're going to go. Even though edge rush can be a spot as well, I think this is where you draft a guy like an Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana, get some wide receiver help in there to pair with DJ Moore. Because Keon Coleman just hasn't lived up to what they thought, Khalil Shakir, I really love the way he plays. I really love how he fits in that offense. So you can use him there. Next is the San Francisco 49ers. They did bring in Mike Evans. They did bring in a guy like a Christian Kirk. I don't think they go wide receiver here. I don't see them going edge. Maybe it's something I see them addressing their offensive line with Trent Williams getting older. And I think this is where they're going to go. Maybe they get a safety here, but I think their defense was, like I said, a lot of it was injury, and I think you probably end up signing an edge rusher. I think at this point, you go Blake Miller from Clemson to help boost that offensive line and kind of get a kind of an heir apparent just in case Trent Williams either falls off or you don't bring him back. I think you get the guy like a Blake Miller. Next is the Houston Texans, and this team, I think you use a lot on the offensive side. Maybe use another wide receiver weapon outside of Nico Collins, and who knows what Tank Dell is going to be. Maybe you could use a tight end. I don't think so. They got center linebacker here. I don't think you go there. I think this is a position where the Texans can take either lineman or best wide receiver available, because you're going to need some help outside of a Nico Collins at wide receiver. I think this is where you draft Denzel Boston. Maybe I might be crazy, but I think you get a wide receiver here. Next is the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is where I think you address defense. Because this team, yeah, I think you got some good wide receivers, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, if he continues to develop. You do give Kenneth Walker, bring him back, bring him into the fold. And I think you get edge rush help here, get some pressure from the outside to take a little bit off of Chris Jones, and you get a Keldrick Falk from Auburn. The Miami Dolphins, they need a lot. They can use wide receiver, they can use corner, they can use a lot. And I think this is where they're gonna go and get themselves a pass rusher here, and they're gonna go Zion Young from Missouri. Get them a pass rusher, get them some help there. Next is the New England Patriots. I think I could use some little bit of help at their linebacker core. They lost some guys. They could use some help at wide receiver. I still believe so. I think this is probably going to be a chance where this might be an opportunity where A.J. Brown is getting traded. Hint, hint. But they keep the pick. If they don't, and they get C.J. Allen to help with their linebacking spot. And then we get the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, and they're losing Kobe Bryant. They ended up losing Tariq Woolen on their defense, which I think, and Boye Mafe on their defense. It's too high to go running back to help with that. And I still think they're, at this point in time, me recording this video, they're on the market for a running back. But I think they go Avion Terrell to help kind of boost their corner spots from their defense. As we can look here, this is my first mock draft. Now, I'll be honest, like I said, I'm not the biggest draft expert. That's exactly what we're gonna have from my standpoint. But that's all I have. Make sure you guys leave this video a like, comment your thoughts down below, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe, have a great and excellent day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.